Thank you very much, Madam Director, and good afternoon to all of you. Thank you very much to the organizers for accommodating me. I was supposed to give my presentation tomorrow, however, circumstances have not permitted me to do that. So if mine seems more political after hearing all these technical presentations, please bear with me. I was expecting to be speaking with politicians, but but there we go. So let me start with the protocols. Excellencies, members of public and private sector, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The summit comes at a very pivotal time in the history of our country, the continent, and the world. We are almost 3 years into the adoption of a global commitment towards inclusive development in matters beyond simple peacekeeping and the balance of powers. When looking at the framework of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, one can see a more pragmatic approach to the goals set in the text, as the consultations going into the compilation thereof were far and wide. A key player to the successful drafting thereof was the African continent and their common position on sustainable development for the post-2015 Development Agenda Framework. A very important component of this position was the acknowledgement of the collective interests that benefit from the positive pursuit of structural economic transformation for inclusive and people-centered development. This requires productive capacities development, notably in areas of infrastructure, agriculture, industrial and services sectors development, science, technology and innovation, value addition, youth development and engagement, as well as women's empowerment and sustainable natural resource management. This is a call towards a people-centered and people-driven mode of development. Agenda 2063, which is the 50-year development plan of the African Union, states in Aspiration 6 that our efforts are to produce an Africa where development is people-driven, unleashing the potential of its women and youth. This therefore requires a serious look at the issues of skills. And when we look at the way our continent in general was constructed for the industrial boom in the 1900s, it was more for an extractive purpose for the raw resources of the land, and not necessarily for the further enrichment of the countries from which they came. This therefore needs us, the young and upcoming thinkers of the continent, and specifically South Africa, to address the matters of development from a place of expansive innovation and industrialization. Trying to create jobs and opportunities for young entrepreneurs under a model that was exclusive to the majority population is bound to fail. It is as good as trying to feed a neighborhood with one plate of food. It is therefore a matter of collective engagement that the issue of skills development in our country be addressed. We must ask ourselves the fundamental question of what it is we mean by skills development. Are we approaching it from an understanding that our country needs more of the same type of workers as a matter of ensuring easy substitution of old or unmanageable workers? Or are we looking at it from the creation of a field of thinkers who are able to address the shortfalls of our day with new, adventurous, and yet sustainable solutions? I would advocate that we opt for the latter question to be our chosen path for seeking the vision upon which our country is built. We need an outlook from both private and public sector that allows for the possibility of the underdeveloped areas to become vibrant areas of commerce and industry. The Common African Position on Sustainable Development provides the key areas of focus for this to be achieved. These are namely the development of private sector and strengthening the productive capacity of the informal sector to ensure a more active contribution to industrialization and value addition, the reallocation and reinvestment of wealth generated from extractive and other primary commodity sectors into sectors that prioritize value addition, promote job-rich growth, and ensure fair taxation, and the promotion of sectors that process primary commodities by developing national value chains across sectors and designing and enforcing national content for beneficiation policies in the extractive and primary commodity producing sectors of the economy. Ladies and gentlemen, these areas of accomplishment need our outlook to delve deeper into the matters of infrastructure as well as our science and technology. It is essential that we strive to develop and maintain reliable, sustainable, environmentally friendly, and affordable infrastructure, both in rural and urban areas, with a focus on land, water, and air transport, and storage facilities, clean water, and sanitation, and having information and technology at the helm. Furthermore, enhancing the development, transfer, and diffusion of technology and innovation in line with the country's development needs, improving access to funding for more homegrown technological innovations and to environmentally sound technologies, as well as strengthening the science and technology component of education in our curricula. It is also vital that we concentrate our efforts on developing technological capacities that enhance the utilization of ICT in key social and economic sectors, which actually encouraged me when I heard the lady speaking of the e-platform for the agricultural development within their sphere of work. I think it's very applaudable, and anyone else who's doing that in the room, you have my salute. These realities cannot be realized by the conventional approach towards empowerment. We need to realize that we are dealing with an economy that may be fiscally strained due to the social imbalances of the constituencies that we serve. It is thus important that we have a heart of a social entrepreneur, understanding that the fruits of our labors may not necessarily be ours to enjoy, but rather be part of the inheritance of generations to whom we will hand over the inheritance of South Africa. As is my custom, I stress that all we need to improve South Africa is right here in this beloved nation of ours. In this room sits leaders from all walks of life. Your capacities of leadership may be different. However, you are leaders. Your role in transforming South Africa's narrative could not be stressed enough. The problem with the pendulum that's pulled too far is that it must swing just as far to the other side before it returns to a level of balance. Society in our country needs to understand this phenomenon and provide progressive forces on each side to ensure that relations amongst all peoples and all energies are directed towards progressive approaches to the upliftment of our nation. The realization of our country's aspiration towards an equitable society rests in our will to dig deep into our hearts for the inspiration that goes beyond ourselves and appreciate the higher calling to which we are all mandated to answer. Let us thus direct our skill to this understanding, knowing that indeed our example is a living blueprint which inevitably will be followed by the rest of the African continent. In closing, I refer you to the words of the father of our nation, the late great President Nelson Mandela, who said, "Since my release, I have become more convinced, now more than ever, that the real makers of history are the ordinary men and women of our country. Their participation in every decision about the future is the only guarantee of a true democracy and freedom." This observation is true to this day. I thus make the call to all of you here today. Let us build South Africa. I thank you.